Lamashtu is the mother and creator of many misshapen and malformed creatures, those that crawl and slither or fly on, above, or below the surface of Galarian. The goddess with the head of a jackal, Lamashtu is responsible for many of the dark creatures that roam throughout the Inner Sea. I apologize for missing last week's video. I've had a little bit of an illness running through the family, and my voice might be a little bit off today. I'm still a little bit stuffy, so I do apologize for that. But with that aside, today we're going to be taking a deeper look into Lamashtu, one of the more vile goddesses out there, and the crazed manner of her worship. Most commonly portrayed as a heavily pregnant female with the head of a jackal with a third eye, large feathered raven wings, a long nimble snake tail, and taloned feet like a vulture. Deep scars cross her swollen belly, leftover wounds from the children that have burst forth from her womb to scour the planet. She is most often depicted with her dual blades, Red Lust and Chill Heart, a pair of kukri knives that are bathed in fire and ice respectively. Both blades can grow or shrink, appearing as large as a falcon or as small as a kukri dagger. Her head is also known to vary depending on the creature actively worshipping her, with gnolls seeing her sporting the jackal head, medusas seeing a snake head, and harpies relating to her most when she appears with a hawk head. Her voice is deep and rich and rises to an ear-splitting howl when enraged. Her screams are like that of a lion's roar and can be heard for miles around. Her unholy symbol takes the form of a jackal's head with 3 yellow eyes, often with decorative tears dripping down its face. Lamashtu began life as an almighty demon lord, the once ancient lover of Pazuzu, the demon lord. History of her time as a demon lord is non-existent, with this taking place before the Earthfall, meaning very few written records of any type have survived. At some point, Lamashtu tore out her own womb and feasted upon it to gain power over birth, only regenerating her flesh after she consumed 1,000 stolen newborns. However, it is known that at some point she lured the god Kirchanis, who at the time was the god of beasts, travel, and endurance, into her own lair of the abyss. Upon his entrance there, she sprung her trap and beset him with swarms of demons and monsters until Kirchanis was weak enough for her to attack directly. She approached him in the form of a deformed jackal and ripped his beastly domain from him, leaving him to die in the abyss as she ascended to godhood. In his dying moments, he was able to pass his domain of travel to Desna, who has been a lifelong enemy of Lamashtu ever since, despite Lamashtu mostly viewing Desna as little more than an annoyance. Returning from this battle, Lamashtu was betrayed and ultimately caught by surprise by Pazuzu, who was enraged at the sudden shift in power between them, with only her newfound divinity allowing her to live. Ever since, she has held Pazuzu in almost as much hatred as she holds Desna. Upon learning that the demons were the results of experimentation by the Horsemen of the Apocalypse, Lamashtu invaded Abaddon and killed the horsemen Drulima and Roshmalam. After intense torture, she learned from Roshmalam the art of creating demons. Once she combined the knowledge of demon creation and the gestation of these demons within her own body, she birthed the first of the Vivakia, a masterpiece of demon creation. Over the eons, she has birthed many monstrous humanoid races and is commonly worshipped as their progenitor and creator. For examples, gnolls speak of when Lamashtu laid eyes for the first time upon a hyena and took it as her consort, eventually giving birth to the gnoll species from this coupling. She is said to have created the Lamia race and the Goblin race, but truly her spawn are far too many to count. Lamashtu, as a true evil goddess with a demonic origin, considers all gods to be her enemies. Despite this view, she focuses her attention more toward growing her cult and the birth of new and increasingly deadly and hideous monstrosities, more so than fighting the rest of the gods. She is aware of Desna's intense hatred toward her, due to her murder of her mentor Kirchanis, but ultimately views Desna as below her notice. She has an odd view of Shaylin. She wishes to capture Shaylin and twist her into her own monstrous version of beauty, which of course all Shaylin worshippers find abhorrent. Abadar uses Lamashtu as a symbol for the dangers and wilds laying beyond the boundaries of his civilized cityscapes, using her as a warning to his own faithful. Pazuzu, Ergathoa, and Rovagug are considered to be Lamashtu's greatest enemies. The Lamashtu-Pazuzu War is eons old, dating back to the very birth of her divinity. While Lamashtu is more powerful, Pazuzu is more focused, putting more work into destroying her. Due to this warring between the two, Pazuzu's name is believed to have dispersed Lamashtu's influence, and it is not uncommon to see amulets with his image or name worn by pregnant women, or newborns to ward off her twisting corruption. Ergathoa is her enemy due to the competition between the two goddesses over the spread of similar corruptions across Galarian, Lamashtu with her monsters and Ergathoa with her undead. Rovagug is Lamashtu's enemy simply due to his position as enemy to all living things. Lamashtu is not in an active conflict with other demon lords, and is not seeking to conquer the Abyss, currently at least. She does have rivalries with some, and is said to have taken others as lovers. Sokoth Benoth is one such demon lord, who claims to have sired a child with her, while Nocticula is all too happy to make her opposition to Lamashtu known, and in return, Lamashtu is all too aware of Nocticula's murderous ascent to power. Baphomet, the first Minotaur, began life as a consort to Lamashtu, handcrafted to be her perfect mate, until he attempted to steal Asmodeus' scepter. Upon his capture and subsequent escape, he established himself as a demon lord in his own right. The two have since reconciled, and are occasional allies and consorts, but he no longer considers himself her servant. The goblin hero gods used to be servants of Asmodeus, but Lamashtu stole them from hell and adopted them as her own. When they came to the Abyss, she carved out a section of hell and brought it across the Maelstrom, forming Basilfest for the Four. She also once had a tryst with the archdevil Typhon, the previous ruler of the first layer of hell, but this tryst may have led to his death. The union had displeased Asmodeus, and shortly after, Typhon was killed and replaced, but it's unsure if this is the ultimate reason why he was killed. As you can tell, Lamashtu has made a bit of a habit of annoying and stealing from Asmodeus, so it's obvious Asmodeus would consider her to be an enemy. Indeed, Lamashtu is considered only one of the two gods that Asmodeus will never attempt to strike a bargain with, the other being the mad destroyer Rovagug. Over in Abaddon, while Lamashtu hates all of the horsemen, she holds a special grudge for Zuriel for turning back her invasion of Abaddon. She wishes to use Zuriel's body to birth even more hideous offspring than normal. However, Zuriel herself is actually grateful to Lamashtu, for without Lamashtu having murdered Rashmalam, she never would have risen to the status of Horseman of War. Lamashtu's sole purpose is to corrupt the mortals and twist the entire world into misshapen creatures, an enormous deformed family devoted solely to her. However, this does not mean she is seeking some form of peace. She actually encourages warring and infighting, because with every death from war means another monstrous birth. She particularly enjoys destroying the most innocent, whether that is defiling their flesh or tainting their minds. To her, a nursery is little more than a banquet. Indeed, there are many stories of infants stolen in the night and replaced with Lamashtu-altered infants, who appear normal at first, only to transform in the night into hideous monsters. Lamashtu has dominion over all unintelligent monsters, and is viewed as the mother of many of the intelligent ones as well. The mother of monsters can be convinced to offer aid in return for loyalty and offerings of newborns, infants, or sometimes breast milk and placentas, if she's in a particularly good mood. If pleased, she will send her minions away to prey upon others, either non-believers or those who have angered her. Her name can be invoked as a charm or as a form of prayer against nightmares, but using it may just draw her attention, and if you're not a member of one of her cults, it may lead to monstrous births. She is a fertility goddess, but while those who pray to her are far more likely to survive childbirth, their spawn will come out warped and twisted. Lamashtu's edicts are simple and nearly impulsive for many of the creatures that follow her teachings. You must empower the outcast and the downtrodden by sharing her faith. You should look to indoctrinate children with her teachings to get a good hook into the young. You must always seek to reveal the corruption and flaws in all things, and especially seek to make the beautiful more monstrous. Her anathemas are relatively simple, with her looking down upon anyone who attempts to treat a mental illness or cure a physical deformity. She also does not favor any who would attempt to support or aid her enemies. In rare cases, injured worshippers that have gained much of her favor may awake to find that wounds are half healed or a lost limb has been fully regrown. But again, she is not a healing deity, so such interventions are unnatural. Stomach wounds may heal with significant pink scarring or strange tumorous patches of hairy growth, or a human amputee may awaken to find that their stump has been replaced with a gnoll's leg. Communing with the Demon Queen typically involves an animal or beast that she will possess to deal out orders, advice, or punishments as the situation calls. Some form of meat sacrifice will be made for the creature to eat, or you will surely incur her wrath. When angered, Lamashtu will subject her victims to painful joints, terrible infections, and hideous nightmares. For her worshippers, giving birth to an untainted child is a sign of great disfavor and shame, requiring atonement. Her greatest disfavor will result in monstrous parents giving birth to beautiful races, such as a gnoll giving birth to a graceful elf. Other punishments include the inability to ever achieve sexual satisfaction and complete infertility. When asked for a sign, Lamashtu will generally physically transform the beseecher in some way. A priest asking whether he should pursue revenge against an old foe may awake to find his canine teeth have been elongated into deadly fangs. Such alterations will typically only last a few hours and revert on their own. She has also been known to send visions via nightmare, such as nightmares of Lamashtu biting the head off a dwarven infant, directing the receiver to murder the head of a nearby dwarven patrol that has been bothering her. Such visions are typically cryptic, but usually easily understood when the moment comes. Lamashtu has claimed the largest layer of the Abyss as her personal realm, the layer known as Kernugia. Kernugia is vast, a truly staggering size that contains all known manners of terrain. There are steaming jungles, parched deserts, ice-tipped mountains, full vast seas, immense swamps, and many more. Despite the organic terrains, non-terrestrial terrains exist also, violent and insane regions that can only exist within the harsh plains of the Abyss. All of these regions are infested with demons, ruled by entire nations of warring gnolls, or homes to dozens of other harmful life forms, all battling to be the ruler of this massive plain. Within the plain, Lamashtu's seat of power is the palace city of Yonaron, a towering mass of spear-like spires and twisted towers. The city itself is the size of a small world, positioned in the center of an impossibly large mesa. The diamond-shaped city that surrounds this central palace is heavily populated by abyssal creatures that have been hand-picked by the Demon Queen herself, usually due to their unique deformities or unwavering loyalty. Several nascent demon lords dwell within Yonaron, powerful minions of Lamashtu that may one day become demon lords in their own right, including the many-bodied Izyanga, sulking and filthy Murnath, and the shadowy Night Ripper. Those who choose to follow Lamashtu are typically monstrous, whether in appearance or within their very souls. Her worshippers wish for nothing less than overarching corruption, destruction, and the ruination of all things falsely beautiful. They tend toward outsiders and rejects from civilized society, often from birth. They view existence as an endless bath of blood and entrails, a constant cycle of life rising only to fall under the teeth and blades of those who are stronger, smarter, and fiercer. Her worshippers believe that purity and perfection are lies, temporary, and illusions that we use to fool ourselves, with corruption and flaws being the natural and final state of life. As such, the followers of the Mother of Monsters only want to bend, tear, and break this beautiful lie. They believe in the propagation of monsters, all sorts of crossbreeds and abominations, and the hot and vicious filth of life. They embrace these incarnations of poisoned fertility and seek to assist in the spread of these nasty monstrosities. Worshippers of Lamashtu may venture forth and ally with those outside the faith in order to seek out monsters or great beasts to serve the cult, prove themselves and their strength so that they may return to their tribe and be rewarded with greater status, or to find parents, willing or not, for their monstrous offspring. They seek to promote war, because war means birth, as the children of submission and savagery will eventually grow to loathe and replace their forefathers. Lamashtu has two unique servants, the fearsome Bloodmaw and the mighty Yethazmari. Bloodmaw is a unique Yethhound with a single green glowing eye, while the other shines the typical red. He is the leader of a large pack of hounds within Cornugia. While unable to use weapons, he is eager to serve, but he will become offended if offered payment of any kind. Yethazmari is a jackal-like beast with large bat wings and a snake tail that serves as Lamashtu's herald. Standing 14 foot tall and nearly 1,600 pounds, the Yethazmari is a fearsome beast that is completely dedicated to Lamashtu. As much as Yethazmari delights in the war-torn abyss, it exalts in every opportunity to rampage upon the material plane. On the rare occasion that Lamashtu will release her herald's leash, servants of the Mother of Monsters will flock to its side, which in and of itself is a dangerous act, because the Yethazmari is just as likely to prey upon allies as it is its foes. It is said that the Yethazmari witnessed the most profane atrocities Lamashtu had ever committed, and as a result, his eyes burned to smoldering coals. Despite the smoking eye sockets, his vision is now full of worlds undone and endless ruinous visions of reality destroyed by Lamashtu's hand. Worshippers of Lamashtu will also claim that no host joined by the Herald has ever been defeated. Legend says that it is accompanied by a pack of powerful Yethhounds known as the Black Hunt. These hounds claim direct patronage from the Herald and are among the oldest, strongest, and most brutal of their kind. Should the Yethazmari be killed, his essence chooses one from amongst his pack to fuse with, resurrecting this ancient fiend instantly. As well as these two unique servants, Lamashtu is also served by the powerful 7 witches, which, as stated, are 7 powerful demonic sorcerers that live within the abyss with her, and the use of the Yonit demons, fiercely loyal hyena-headed demons that resemble twisted Archon hounds. They look forward to nothing more than slaughtering in their goddess's name. While we discuss allies, you should become my ally and subscribe to the YouTube and consider joining my Discord. We have an in-Discord economy that generates from daily interaction that you can use to purchase video requests. So far, my next 3 videos will all be requests directly from my Discord members, so I hope you enjoy them. I also now have access to the YouTube membership feature, where I currently have 3 tiers that you can join if you wish to support me further. The lowest tier will grant you a members only chat with me, while the highest will give you a free video request every 3 months. Any support I get from this will go toward reducing my work hours and funding my book subscription so I can keep my book collection as up to date as I possibly can. Thank you for all the support so far, guys. It really means a lot. But for now, let's get back to the video. Lamashtu's church is scattered and lacks an overall hierarchy. It is truly rare that 2 priests will come into conflict, as they recognize their own positions as outsiders and the hostility they face from outside of their faith. When conflict is inevitable, the priest will compare scars, numbers of offspring, and deformations to determine which is superior. Magical strength is the last element compared, with offspring being much more important. A less experienced priest with 6 living children would be ranked higher than an older priest with 3 children. Services to Lamashtu include howling, screaming, branding, bloodletting, childbirth, and sacrifices. The use of music is limited to a throbbing drumbeat, rising and falling as it rouses your passions to higher and higher fervors. Services usually take place at night or underground, though an important labor or particularly long and painful birth might inspire a ritual no matter when it happens. The use of intoxicants is a common part of Lamashtan rituals, which often quickly devolve into an orgy of food, sex, hallucinations, and violence. The Demon Queen's followers will ritually consume hallucinogenic plants and poisonous animals to alter their perceptions, sometimes permanently, though in most cases, the substances only cause vivid dreamlike or nightmare visions that fade after a few hours. Cultists have also been seen poisoning others with these ritualistic substances to sow chaos. Though most Lamashtu cultists are too crude and direct to formulate such complex attacks against the psyche, they have been known to harass and demoralize opposing religious groups or opponents with horrifying sections of torture and humiliation intended to utterly break their enemies' spirits. Worshippers will often perform ritualistic self-mutilation to prove their devotion, wearing their scars with pride, as trophies until the lucky day when she graces them with some form of deformity. This deformity is then displayed with absolute reverence. A rare few will settle for primitive surgery to make these alterations themselves, but most are just masochists with a high tolerance for pain and crippling injuries. Those that fully abandon their original appearance to become more bestial are highly respected for their physical sacrifices and gain intense power and favor in the goddess's eyes. Adventurers even speak of at least one pink-skinned Gnoll chieftain who speaks more like a human nobleman than any Gnoll has ever spoken. Pregnant cultists can pray for Lamashtu's blessing, transforming their unborn into monsters that will claw their way free of the womb, leaving behind horrific scarring that the faithful view as signs of absolute devotion and piety. In these ritualistic births, magical healing is forbidden, as it prevents scarring, though non-magical healers are typically present to give the mother at least a chance of surviving. Not because Lamashtu cares for her followers, but because a dead follower is a follower who can offer no more children. Because they can bear children, women are naturally ranked high in Lamashtu worshipping communities. Bearing many monstrous children is an ambitious goal for many cultists, made even more important as some of Lamashtu's spawn are even too deformed or fragile to survive for long. Successful births bring deep respect from other worshippers, for every malformed child born is another child of Lamashtu's. Barren women tend to have the lowest status within any Lamashtan tribe, and often do anything possible to make themselves useful to their tribes, hunting, raiding, guarding whatever possible, lest they risk being shunned, as Lamashtan worshippers view infertility as one of the greatest curses from the Demon Queen herself. Some men, desperate for the revered position of female clergy members, go to outlandish and troubling lengths to mimic the ability to give birth. They willingly become the vessels for rot grubs, zill eggs, vrock swarms, and other terrible and disgusting parasites. The Church of the Demon Queen operates, like most evil deities, on the outskirts of society. Most worship is done by primitive humanoids, outside or underground. Usually simple affairs with flat blood-stained rocks suitable for sacrifices, or more innate rings of stone and idols carved into Lamashtu's image. Civilized folk usually cannot, or do not, worship Lamashtu publicly, and thus, permanent structured churches are only found in the most depraved lands, such as Belkzen and the remains of the Worldwound. Most commonly, her worshippers will build elaborate shrines that are hidden beneath cities, in ancient ruins, or in other secretive locations. In such places, Lamashtu's faithful will honor their foul mistress as grandly as this secrecy allows. No matter if in a secret base or a permanent church, a Lamashtu shrine will feature an altar carved with a shallow basin. Some sites where regular enough sacrifices are made are blessed with the waters of Lamashtu, a foul unholy fluid that bubbles up from the altar or in specially consecrated fountains. If a creature is to partake in these waters, they will suffer terrible but empowering side effects. With enough exposure, the body will warp and the mind will twist. Ritual garb for Lamashtan priests may include jackal masks made of leather or precious metals, horned headdresses, cloaks of shaggy fur or black feathers, and a pair of falcons or kukris decorated and painted to resemble the Demon Queen's own weaponry. Wealthy followers may pay to have their weapons enchanted with the flaming or frost ability, though red and blue paints are also satisfactory representations of these iconic weapons. Most will wear her symbol as an amulet, a brand, or a tattoo. Brown and black are typical clothing colors, more out of convenience and availability than a preference for these colors. It is a lucky coincidence that these colors do match the goddess's fur and wings though. Although most of Lamashtan writings are clawed into stone or painted in blood, her holiest of teachings can be found in a pair of profane references. The first is known as the Four Hides of Lam, appearing as a series of 3 leather straps stitched together and marked with simple runes that reveal the history and lessons of the Demon Queen. Lam, a hero of the Lamashtan faith, created this item by cutting strips of flesh from her own body, tanning them into leather and painting them. 2 of the strips have been torn and repaired, but legend tells of a forbidden 4th strip that contains a heresy that has been expunged from cult knowledge. It is currently unknown what this 4th strip holds though. The second is the preserved skull of a Yonit champion slain by a cleric of Desna. The skull was discovered intact by a Lamashtan priest and empowered with the ability to speak the Demon Queen's doctrine in several different humanoid languages as well as Abyssal. Every few years, Lamashtan cults will travel and meet to hear the skull speak, and heroes from each of the different tribes will face off in contests of strength to win the privilege of holding the skull until the next meeting. During these occasions, the skull will talk and make observations as if it were an alive, sentient being. Lamashtu celebrates no regularly observed holidays, but her faith holds the entire month of Lamashtan as sacred, not only due to its naming after their goddess, but due to its placement in the year, as fall transitions to winter and that time of year when the weakest of offspring will die from the first seasonal illnesses. Servants of Lamashtu share the wisdom of the Mother of Monsters, often in the form of short mantras or truth that bites as savagely as the sharpest teeth. Blessed be the Mother, an oath to the Demon Queen and praise to mortal mothers. This invocation may be a battle cry, a plea for help, or a prayer of thanks, depending on the context. It is chanted during childbirth to link the expectant mother to Lamashtu, so that the goddess takes notice and brings forth a strong, though deformed, new life. In rituals where creatures are sacrificed, the victim is bled first, and the blood is used to spell this phrase on the ground in simple runes. The scars are the proof. Rival cultists of Lamashtu often challenge each other to a duel of scars, in which they compare scarring to see who has been in more battles or marked themselves to the greatest extent. The one with the most scars is considered the victor. If the decision is too close to call, opponents may take turns branding or cutting themselves until one concedes victory. Amongst women, the rough belly scars from monstrous births are proof of the goddess's favor, and are often the deciding factor within a scar duel. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we have discussed everything that we currently know about Lamashtu. The Mother of Monsters is a cruel and vicious deity, but many of those who live on the outside of society call to her as their mother and as their creator. I hope you have enjoyed this Halloween special. I will admit it has been very nice to get so many videos out so quickly, but it has been very trying. I don't have as much free time as I wish to do videos, but I really did enjoy the challenge. I hope in the future I'm able to put more time into this channel because I'm learning things every week that I didn't know, and it feels great to share the knowledge with you. If you enjoyed this video or I've taught you something new, leave me a comment and let me know. But thanks guys, I'll see you next time with the first of my viewer request videos on an overview of the Mwangi Expanse.